Well, hello everybody. Hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of To a Woman's Heart. Well, the long awaited conversation tonight. Happy wife, happy life. Make sure you share, like, comment, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow us on all our social media. Get your glass of wine, get your popcorn, get your cheese, get your snack. This is about to be interesting. Well, my name is Renee, creative visionary to a woman's heart, and tonight I have with me Denise, my niece, and
Hello,
this
beautiful
topic
people.
came up from who, Denise? Let's kind of backtrack. How did this topic come up to be?
I was on Snap one day, one brisk Saturday evening, and my cousin's boyfriend made a snap saying it was talking along the lines of happy wife, happy life. Like, why do women think that it should be happy wife, happy life? And I responded back with my response. And I say, well, I don't believe in happy wife, happy life. I believe in happy spouse, happy house. And so we were in the car. And so we just, Auntie Renee and I began to converse about the different perceptions and what I feel like what what someone else may think happy spouse, happy wife, happy life is totally different from what someone else may believe happy wife, happy life would be. So we thought it would be a great conversation to have amongst women. And then maybe later on, bring some fellas into the conversation to get everyone's perspective about what is your idea or what is your thought process about what do you believe to be happy wife, happy life? And is that a thing? Like, is that true? Should it be happy wife, happy life? I don't
Okay,
know.
so before we get deep in this conversation, for those who are watching, I want everybody to chime in and give your perspective,
Yes.
what you think happy wife, happy life means to you,
Mhm.
because everybody interprets happy wife, happy life in different ways. It could be the
Mhm.
way you was raised, it could be the way you view relationships. Um, it could be a lot of things that you may interpret happy wife, happy life in a different perspective. Now,
Mhm.
Denise is a married person. I'm a single individual, but still pretty much our perspective fall along the same lines, because what we were saying in conversation, if you're in a relationship with two people and you're married, I don't think the relationship should be one-sided.
Right.
So it's like driving, like this is my exact analogy, what I gave to Denise. So if you're driving down the street, you have the broken yellow line, right? So that means one lane is going one way, another lane going another way. So for me, when you say happy wife, happy life, you're going in two different directions, because what you're contingent on is your husband making you happy.
Mhm.
And then the question then becomes, can he really make you happy?
Mm,
Can he?
nope.
That's a question, because happiness starts with yourself. So nobody can really make you happy. So if you say happy wife, happy life, so that means that you want your spouse to spend all the time investing in your happiness and negating his happiness. And
Right.
somewhere down the line, he's going to become unhappy because he's putting all the efforts in you and receiving no efforts in return.
Mm.
So, what
Okay.
you think?
I agree with everything you said. That's why I go by the saying happy spouse, happy house. If you have a good man, a little, a good wholesome man, if I mean most men, if you're doing everything to make them happy, they're automatically gonna return that to make you happy. But you
Mm-hmm.
have to come into a relationship happy, healthy, and whole on your own
Mm-hmm.
before you can depend on someone else to make you happy. Their happiness should not be based contingent upon the things that they do for you, that they buy for you, that they make you feel good all the time. I'm not saying that you shouldn't, your spouse shouldn't compliment you and all that good stuff. That's true. But if they decide to walk away tomorrow, you go through your grieving process, but you don't look for them to make you happy, because essentially you'll never be happy, because and whatever they do for you will never be enough, because
Mm-hmm.
you're always looking for them to make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
But if you come in happy, right, and him making you happy or her making you happy or whatever, it's just icing on the cake. It's not, you're not looking for something else to make you happy, because I mean, first of all, you got to figure out your own happiness, what
Mm-hmm.
makes you happy and stuff, those things
Mm-hmm.
along that line first, before you can even depend on someone else to make you happy.
But my relationships are about two people. It's just not just about one person. So it's a give and take on both parts.
Right.
So if I'm in a relationship and I'm married to an individual, my husband happiness should be just as important as
Correct.
as him making me happy. We should work together to make each other happy. That's a balance. That's
Right.
not one sided. And so then when you say happy wife, happy life, then you also have to think about, are we looking at marriage in the wrong way? For some of us, I'm not saying everybody, but
I would
some of
say
us
yes.
look at marriage in the wrong way because you're looking to gain all the benefits and you're not looking to give anything in return.
I would say yes, but I guess to kind of, I guess, mother further expound on it, like we was talking the other day. I think it's, when you were younger, I would say specifically for women, right? You always had the cliche, oh, grow up, get a good job. And I was just talking to my guy, who's the guy best friend. He's my guy best friend, and he and I was just having this conversation. Oh, you always taught, oh, grow up, get a good job, have a family,
Hmm.
get married, have a family, and all of that's great. That's beautiful. However, you don't teach me. You just telling me what to do, but you're not
Hmm.
telling me how to sustain it. So I
Hmm.
think where the happy wife, happy life came in at, it's just like it's a call. I would call it like a call to action to a man to say, if you make your wife happy, she'll make your life happy. But like
Hmm.
you said, he has feelings too, even though they
Hmm.
don't always show it all the time. They have
Hmm.
feelings, and
Hmm.
they want to be considered, and they want to be winding down sometimes too. It's not always
Hmm.
about the things that you want. So I
Hmm.
think the happy wife, happy life things come from a perception of, is that if he gives me everything that I want, that I'll in turn make his life happy. Now you do have a lot of men who are giving women that what they want, probably need, and 10 times more, and she treats him like a dog.
Exactly.
So then you have to question yourself, is happy wife, happy life really a thing? Is
Hmm.
it really? Or is it just something that they said in past times, and now people have just rolled this wave to say, yeah, it should be happy wife, happy life. If I'm happy, then, the house is peaceful. But if he got a hailstorm on going on in his head, is the house really happy? Is the wife
Okay.
really making a
Yeah,
happy life?
but it's kind of like it's like the seesaw. Long as nobody's sitting on it, it has a balance, right? But if
Right,
one person sits on it, one of them sides is going up. It's
right,
going up. And then the balance only come in when two people sit on the opposite end to create the balance.
right,
And so when you talk about a marriage, I think the balance is missing because again, it goes back to, if I'm looking for you to feed me all the time and I never feed myself, then eventually
right,
I'm going to get hungry and I'm going to want something to eat.
right,
Since I spend all my time feeding you and I don't spend no time feeding myself. So when you say happy wife, happy life, I really don't think we understand the concept of what we're saying because
right.
we heard it said so much, but we really never thought about the impact it has What does it really mean, and how does it affect the relationship? We don't think about that. And it has a great impact. So if he spend all his time making you happy and you spend none of your time making him happy, he'll run across somebody who will make him happy, and then he'll walk away from you
Right.
because he spent all his time doing stuff for you and you're not reciprocating and doing it for him. It's just like sexual relationship. If I'm giving you the sexual pleasure all the time and I'm not getting a return, what joy am I getting out of it? I'm not getting nothing out of it. So when we say happy wife, happy life, we really have to think about that. And I think some of our women have taught our girls to think that way. You know, it just don't come up later on down the line. We taught them to think that if your man makes you happy, then you know you got a good relationship. But that's not the
Mm-hmm.
case because people put up a front when it come down to relationships all the time because what's good on look good on the outside is not always good on the inside.
Correct. I
So
agree.
now what do we do to really understand, or how do we create the balance?
Specific. I'm not gonna say for just men. I mean, I'm not gonna just say for women, but as mothers, right? As
Mhm.
women, we
Mhm.
have to do both, right? We have to teach our young girls, we have to teach our young boys that number one, teach them how to be happy with themselves first,
Mhm.
right? Again, go back to my notion: be happy, healthy, and whole with who you are first
Mhm.
before you move into a space or try to cohabitate. And not just the marriage, in a relationship, you can even apply that to friendships, right? Learn how to be happy, healthy, and whole with who you are and be
Mhm.
secure in who you are. I'm not saying now, don't be cocky and all that. No, I'm not saying do all that, but be happy, healthy, and whole with who you are and in the space you're in. And then when you want to branch out to those relationships, I think if we change the notion, if we change the perception, or I don't want to say perception, but if we learn how to balance, what I'm saying? Don't don't tell your son or your daughter be a good husband or good be a good wife, and you don't give them the tools that they need in order to
Mhm.
be a good husband or to
Mhm.
be a good wife. Don't
Mhm.
just tell me to do it. Walk me through that process. Teach me how, to be. And everybody's not worthy. Some do we all make mistakes? Absolutely. Do you marry the wrong person? Probably. Was you in a
Mhm.
relationship with the wrong person? Probably so.
Mhm.
I'm
Mhm.
not saying that that's not going to happen, because maybe it will, maybe it won't. I'm not sure. However, put your best foot forward, right? And if it don't work, sometimes it doesn't work. It wasn't in the cards. It wasn't meant to work, and that's okay. But you learn from that. You build from that. You grow from that. Don't take that baggage from your failed relationship into your next relationship, because now you're going to hold that next person accountable for what somebody else did. You don't want to do that. So make sure you're happy first, securing who I am, and then you could kind of move forward and going into those next steps. And then you don't have to worry about it being happy wife, happy life, because it'll be a happy spouse and it'll be a
Happy
happy
house.
house.
And it'd be natural. But don't you think that we as women, we are already broken, and we go into the relationship, the marriage broken, and we think that that husband can fix what's broken in us.
Yeah.
And we not realizing that we're not whole. And again, it piggyback to what you say. We say, the Bible talks about it's better to marry than to burn, and marriage is a good thing, but nobody really, and even in counseling, I've asked questions to various people. Nobody really can explain the concept of what marriage is in a relationship. And I think if, because it's a learning thing, you have to know yourself. As we
Mm-hmm.
said earlier, you really have to know yourself. You have to know what you're looking for in a relationship, and everybody got to know what's being brought to the table. Y'all need to have common goals that you're trying to reach. But most of all, I think the piece that's missing the most is the communication. and the
Mm-hmm.
understanding that it's not going to be a perfect relationship because two imperfect people are coming together in a
Right.
relationship. You follow what I'm saying? You're not, nobody's perfect. So we want others to be perfect, and we're not perfect ourselves. And it's just like when you start a job, when you have the skills for a job, but when you start it, you know nothing about the company
Right.
until you get inside the company. And then as the days and the weeks and the months and the years pass, then you learn different things about the company. Same thing if you take that same aspect and you put it in the marriage. You
Mm-hmm.
date somebody, you get to know that person, but do you really know that person until you marry that person and then you all end up living together? You follow what I'm saying? But it takes the days, the hours, the weeks, the months, the seconds, the minutes, the years for you to really understand. You all have differences. You follow what I'm saying? You
Right.
have differences. You don't think the same way. You don't do the same things the same way. So it is, it's a constant learning, but some people are not willing to learn because they have that one track mind. All they think about, I have this husband, he gonna do A, B, C, and D. I'm responsible for D, E, F, and G. And then the end result is H, I, J, K, L, M. And it don't always work that way. It don't
True.
always work that way. It's called compromise. And a lot of us don't want to compromise because our thought process, because what we heard and what somebody has poured into us, which is not always accurate information, that yeah, if you get married, it's his job to make you happy. You don't have to work. Or these are the things that you should do, and these are the things that he's responsible to do. But every relationship is different.
It
And
is.
you can't define your relationship by somebody else's relationship. It doesn't work.
It doesn't. I agree,
So,
which is why we need to go back to the teaching, right? The teaching part. You have to teach, even like teach them early on, like how to compromise, that level of compromise. You know, I think in some way, in some shape, form, or fashion, it got lost, like in translation. But again, you have to be taught that, right? I mean, some people do get it later on in life, and it's not. I mean, I would rather for you to get it later than not get it at all.
but how
You know,
can you teach something that you don't know?
well, I kind of go two ways. I agree with that. You can't you can't learn something that you don't know. However, if you see something differently, it's just like in our community. They always make the cliche, "Oh, we don't see a lot of black families," right? So you have to make the personal decision. I didn't see this growing up, right? So I
Hmm.
don't want this growing up. So let me use the tools now. Right now in this era, we have tons of things. You have different type of social media. You know, counselors, whatever. There's a platform or there's a way for you to find out information. Now, maybe not back then, and I understand that because
Hmm.
a lot of things was just kind of swept under the rug because that's just kind of what they did. Was it right? No, but it's what they did. So we're here
Hmm.
now. So you look for those tools to help you learn something different because it's just like insanity. The definition of insanity is you trying to do the same thing and expecting different results.
Hmm.
You can't keep running your head up against the wall and think your head not gonna bust. It's gonna bust because you keep running your head up against that same wall. Now, if you don't
Hmm.
want your head to be bleeding open, then of course stop banging your head up against the wall.
Hmm.
So we have to do something differently to yield different results. So you want different results, do something differently. And again, if you're in a relationship or marriage, whatever, and you keep trying, like say if I'm the person who I feel like I'm putting all the work,
Hmm.
I'm putting all the work forward and the other person is not doing their share. Now, granted, you're going to do that whole 80-20 thing. You're not always going to get 100% out the relationship. And if somebody told you that, that's not realistic.
Hmm.
It's just the way of the world. I'm sorry. That's just not going to happen.
Hmm.
However, if you feel like you're always the person who's giving 80 the majority of the time, then yeah, you probably want to reevaluate that
Hmm.
because then that person who's giving 10 or 5 or whatever they're giving, they probably don't want to be with you like that.
Mm-hmm.
So then somebody has to, in that, in that situation, somebody has to be like, okay, I'm gonna choose either you or me, and I'm gonna choose me. But that goes back to being happy. See, when you happy with who you are, and if that person decides to leave, it's cool with me. Yeah, I may be hurt. Maybe we was together for a long time, and that may be okay. Take your time, do your healing, process and do that part. And that's okay to do that part, but make sure before you move into something else, because what you don't want to do is, a lot of times what we do is that we'll get out of one situation and we'll move too quick to the next situation because we're trying to prove a point. Ain't no time to prove no points. Prove the point to yourself, because what
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to do is, I don't want to keep picking wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm steady picking wrong. Don't pick wrong, pick right. Rick Ross
Right.
made he did an interview. He said, I don't care how long it takes. He's not worried about moving incorrectly. He's about moving correctly. I don't care how long it takes me to move. That's fine. I'll take the time. The time is fine. Just make sure I move correctly. Let's move correctly.
Okay, but here is the thing. Um, I agree that we jump out of one relationship in the next without healing or discarding or learning from what did not work. And a lot of us beat ourselves up because it didn't work. But at the same time, when you go back to reevaluate, that wasn't healthy for you anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
so, again, it goes back. You need to know who you are
Mm-hmm.
and what your expectation as a woman is and what you're expecting out the relationship. And conversation, as much as people don't want to listen to this, conversation needs to be had about certain things before you get in a relationship. And the one piece to the puzzle that we as women don't do, we don't have the conversation. The words play out in our minds, but we don't speak it through our lips, and we just let it go and we look over it, knowing that is the thing that we don't want to settle for. That is the thing that we know is not going to be workable for us, but for some of us, so we won't be lonely,
Mm-hmm.
alone, or by ourselves, however you want to dress it up to be. We go ahead and sacrifice what is important to us for the sake of having a relationship. And when you do that, all you do is hurt yourself, because 9 times out of 10 down the line, it's still going to be that nagging thing that's nagging you, that you're saying, I should have not did this. This is not what I really wanted. So there's nothing wrong with waiting. Make sure that you are whole. Like Denise say, we jump into stuff and we're not whole. We know things are wrong when we're even in the dating process. And I'm going to talk about me, because I can talk about me. When I was about to get married, when I had the dress, the veil, the decoration for the church, the reception hall, the cake, all the money down. And when he showed his natural behind of jealousy, that he was controlling, and I kept telling my family member, tentative. And that's what I said. I kept saying tentative, not tentative to be negative, but tentative if things were to turn, which he started to show some things that I wasn't liking. And I wasn't going to settle for the sake to say, I have a husband. If I'm not going to be happy to come home to you, I'm not standing before God, no pastor, and no people standing before them telling you that I love, because that's not going to happen. So let me tell you what I did in counseling session. When he did the last straw and showed his narrow behind, I told him, let me tell you, I got a solution for you. This wedding is canceled. I am done, because I'm not marrying anybody I hate to come home to. But the question I'm going to ask you ladies watching, how many women are bold enough to do that when you know deep down within your every fiber of your being that you should not proceed forward? Bottom line. And it doesn't have a reflection on me. I was cool. You can't pay for peace of mind. That's something you can't pay for. And why would I settle and sacrifice my strong belief, my expectation, and me want to be married forever and not end up divorced to settle for somebody when they showed their butt and showed the jealousy and the controlling aspect of them. I'm not doing it. So there would have not been a happy wife, and there definitely wouldn't have been a happy life. Not for him, it wouldn't have been. So I'm not wasting my time for that. So again, but did I let it define who I am as a woman? Did I let it deter me for looking or hoping that it may happen? I'm 61, it still haven't happened. But I'm okay with that. But I still in the process, I still have to work on myself. So when it do happen, I'm ready for some things. But how many of us are broken and we're not happy with ourselves and we just go ahead and the man proposed to you, he said, will you marry? You say, oh yes, baby. And 2 months later, all hell done broke loose.
Well, this is what I will say, ladies, men too. Like, give yourself permission to let yourself off the hook. Everybody makes mistakes. Give yourself permission to let yourself off the hook. Forgive yourself, like Auntie Renee said. One mistake, two mistakes, hell, three, four. Give yourself permission to let yourself off the hook. Did you think that it was going to probably happen? Probably not. Was there probably red flags? Absolutely. But give yourself permission to let yourself off the hook. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay. It's okay to
Mm-hmm.
dust yourself off and try it again when you're ready to try it again. But don't
Mm-hmm.
be bound and hold yourself up, bound yourself up in that, because you'll get lost in the sauce, and then you'll look up and you'll be like, Dad, well, what happened? You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's too late. It's never too late, to do whatever it is that you're trying to do. But give
Mm-hmm.
yourself permission and let yourself off the hook. Even for men too. Men, give yourself permission, let yourself off the hook. It's okay, because Steve Harvey said a saying, he made everybody, and I believe that everybody's soulmate is out there. You just ain't found them yet. They ain't
Mm-hmm.
found you yet. They're out there, because
So I
it's
got a
something
question.
that gets you.
I got a question.
You.
What is your learnings since we're talking about happy wife, happy life? And you've been married how long?
13 years.
13 years. So in your 13 years from your beginning to your middle to where you're at now, what was your learnings from the beginning? What you didn't know to do in the beginning? What was your transition to the middle that you learned from the beginning to the middle? And what was your transition from the beginning to the middle to where you are at now?
From my beginning is, that's funny what you asked us, because me and Sheree were just talking about this yesterday. At the beginning of my marriage, I was very young. I was in my early 20s when Brian and I got married. And I lost myself in who he was. I
Mm-hmm.
lost myself in the marriage. I,
Mm-hmm.
devoted myself to, oh, this is my marriage. And me and Brian got pregnant super soon, after 3 months. We were going to marry 3 months before we got pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So I was full force, like whatever Brian, it's almost like whatever he said,
Mm-hmm.
it was almost like law.
Mm-hmm.
Hindsight now 2020, it's not law. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Then we moved into that transition where we had the break, right? Where we had to split. We separated.
Okay. You froze up a little bit.
You don't have to lose who you are because you're married, right? I
Okay,
didn't
put a pause. Go back. You kind of froze up a little bit. Y'all separated, and then what?
for 2 years. We separated for 2 years. And I felt like at that point, that was God's way of telling me, like, you lost along the way as you begin to grow. You lost who you were because
Mm-hmm.
you were so involved in the marriage.
Mm-hmm.
You put him first. And not to a certain degree, not to say that, you shouldn't like submit to your spouse. That's something different. But I
Mm-hmm.
lost who I was. I really wasn't always doing the stuff that I felt was good for me. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? I wasn't doing things that Denise liked to do. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I was always Brian want to do this, Brian want to do that. Versus saying, okay, it's okay for Brian to do that, but let me have my own thing too.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so until now, as you evolve and as you grow, it's I've learned that it's okay for us to have our separate likes and our dislikes, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's okay for us to, you know, if he want to do one thing and I want to do something else, okay, you go off and do your own thing, and then we'll meet back up at the house, later. Compromise was was very big, not just on my part, but on his part too, and knowing that every action does not deserve a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That was really, really big for me because I did used to be like, well, no, da 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 da, whatever happened, everything does not need me to immediately respond. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I had to learn who he was too, and he got to learn who I am. I used to be more of a like, I want to talk about it right now. And he's more of a I want to talk about it later.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, and that comes back to compromise, I had to learn how to compromise to say, okay, he's not ready to talk about it right now, even
Mm-hmm.
though I am. But even in hindsight in 2020, through some of my therapy sessions, I've learned too that I don't really be ready to talk about it at that point either. Because
Mm-hmm.
then I'm going off emotion, number one, and then I'm listening to defend versus listen to understand
Mm-hmm.
because I'm mad, I'm pissed off. So
Right.
when you listen to understand versus listening to defend, then the conversation is a little bit more smooth. I understand your point, you understand my point, and now we could kind of, grow together. But you also have to. Brian has to learn me as I grow and I evolve. Right, who
Mm-hmm.
I was when I met him over 20 years ago, I'm not that same person at 36.
Mm-hmm.
The things I like are different, and some conversations that you that you have to have or that we had to have was very tough conversations that
Mm-hmm.
I would admit that I was really afraid to have with him because I was scared of how he would respond.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to work, but do it. I will tell you during that 2 year break, I got back to who I was and
Mm-hmm.
the things that I wanted and the things that I desired. Like, okay, he could be my husband, but I'm still a woman too. I could be a
Mm-hmm.
mom. I could be a woman. I could look fly. I can go out and hang out with my girlfriends. I can go on a girls trip. I could do stuff outside of him. I have my own likes and I have my own desires that I
Mm-hmm.
want to do outside him. I don't always have to be figuring out what he got going on. You go over there with them, and I'm gonna go over here with them, and then I see you back at the house.
But that's how you all know how to create the balance.
That's
So
how, and that took a long. Whoever's watching, I'm telling you, it's not easy. It's not an easy road. It's not always easy to do. You know what I'm saying? If I'd be lying if I tell you, oh, it was just a walk in the park. No, because sometimes we went months where we was in one specific space and we was kind of going back and forth about a couple of things at one for months. And it's
mm-hmm.
just like, yeah, because we ever gonna get over this hurdle? And now we can sit down and have those conversations and be like, Dad, we came over that. But you
Mm-hmm.
also have to have a partner who's willing to fight with you, right?
Right.
You got to have somebody who's willing to be in the ring with you and fight with you. If
Mm-hmm.
that person, woman or man, ain't willing to be in the ring with you and fight with you, go on about your business. Find
Mm-hmm.
somebody who's willing to be in the ring with you and fight with you. They ain't willing to be in the ring with you and fight with you, then because at that point, I'm going back. I'm gonna choose my happiness, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm happy and I'm happy with okay, this didn't work out, and that's cool. You know what I'm saying? I'll take my time. I'll get over it. Cry, do
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is you got to do. Have girls' night. Kill 5 bottles of wine if that's what you got to do, and the fifth of Hennessy if that's what you drink. I don't know, but do whatever it is you got to do and move on because it's somebody out there who will put in as much effort as you put in.
Mm-hmm.
But
But
it's a
it's
work
it
in
it
progress.
it takes both individuals
It
though.
takes both.
It,
It takes
you
both
so
parties.
the title says happy wife, happy life. So at what point in your life did you realize that happy wife, happy life was not the phrase to use and happy spouse and happy house was? Because at
Oh,
one point you believe that too, right?
I knew about the cliche, but it goes back. See, I didn't really fully understand really what happy wife, happy life meant. I
Mm-hmm.
just think it was just something that we said. It was my first therapist when me and Brian first split. It was my first therapist who really helped walk me through Like, why do you always say, like happy wife, happy? Well, even before we split, our first marriage counselor that we had, she actually told it to us, and that was some years ago, maybe like 8, 9 years ago. She
Mm-hmm.
was like, it should really be happy spouse, happy house, and she gave us some homework or whatever. And she really broke down what it really meant to have a happy spouse and a happy house. Because if
Mm-hmm.
both parties are happy, then the house is gonna be cool. And not to say, y'all, that you're not gonna have arguments. You're gonna have arguments. That's natural. That's okay. That's dumb if you think you don't have arguments. Everybody had arguments. Me and Auntie Nate argued the other day. You know what I'm saying? that's that's natural, but it's, can you come back from those arguments?
Right.
That's the important part. Can you
Right.
come back from those, and can you understand each other's points? So I would credit that to our first marriage counselor, who really introduced me to the happy spouse, happy house thing versus the whole happy wife, happy life. Like I said, my mom, no discredit to my mom. My mom and dad was married for over 35 years, but before they divorced, it's no discredit to her. I don't even really think she even really knew, what the whole
Mm-hmm.
happy wife. I don't really think, to be honest, I don't really think nobody really know what that even means for real. I
Yeah.
think it's just like what grandma used to say: don't put your purse on the floor because you ain't gonna never have no money.
Mm-hmm.
Type of vibe. Don't go to bed with a sink full of
Angry
dishes. Right.
or
Don't go to
angry.
bed mad. Stuff like that. It's just like, or always, you should always cook for your husband, and always do. And it's just like, what does that even really mean? Maybe back in the day, I think it worked, because most women stayed home. But however, now we don't really live. You know what I'm saying? We don't really live like that.
Yeah,
I
but it
mean,
goes back. You got to know who each other are. You know
right,
what I'm saying? You got
right.
to know who your mate is.
You
And
got to
then,
know who it is.
yeah, you got to know who your mate is. And then to touch on one thing that you say, you have to know how to argue too.
Yeah,
Because a lot of relationship argue and they argue in front of kids. Kids should not be a
yeah,
part of the argument. There are certain things that spouses are spitting out words that is disrespectful.
yeah.
And if you have to be that disrespectful to each other, then y'all don't need y'all toxic.
Oh, the definition of toxicity.
That is
Okay,
definitely toxic. And
toxic.
quiet as it kept, just to touch on one more thing, Denise talked about therapy. We have been taught in our community that therapy is a bad thing.
Yeah, and it's
But
not.
quiet as it's kept, and Denise said this all the time, we all need to go to therapy.
We sure do.
Every, including myself, every last one of us need to sit on somebody's couch,
It
in
works. I'm telling you.
somebody's chair, so you can, because a lot of the relationship problems that we have is from baggage that
Mhm.
we have carried throughout the years, things that we have not let go, our brokenness, things that we don't understand, and we carry it from one relationship to the next. And whether you realize it or not, how we react to certain things, if you really sit down and digest it, it's probably some stuff that you've been carrying from your past. And all
Yeah,
it takes is a couple of things to spark it up. Or some your husband say you act just like your mama. And
yeah.
that's a whole different conversation. Or you tell your wife you act like your daddy, and that's a whole different conversation. So that means something in your past by that one statement has sparked something within you. And we
Yeah.
just need to face it. We just need to own up to it. We're not perfect. We made some mistakes. Ain't no sense to beating yourself up about it. But we're at the right place at the right time. We're in the 11th month of the year. This is
The
a good
last day.
time to do a self evaluation and work on releasing the baggage, dropping off the weight, and becoming your better best self. And if that means that you have to be by yourself for a while, if you tell your mate, I need a couple of days to myself, we just need to regroup and reapproach, and then you all have this conversation that you don't want to talk about that you need to have, then that's what you need to have. And
Those
nobody
hard
can make you
conversations.
happy but yourself. You're responsible for your happiness, not your mate. And if we get that concept in our head, I think we will have much healthier relationships. Much
Yeah.
healthier.
Learn how to argue too. Don't, my mom and dad, shout out to them. They was they were good parents, but I remember they used to argue about stuff like say daddy ain't wash the dishes or something. Mama ain't wash dishes or something. And they start arguing about stuff that, well, remember when you did 20 years ago, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I caught myself, I do the same thing too, well, back then. Now we try to let's argue about what we're really trying to argue about right now. And like I said, it's not that whole don't go to bed mad. I'm not going to say don't go to bed mad because I don't necessarily believe in that any longer, because sometimes you do need that time to just breathe,
Mm-hmm.
and be like, let me get my thoughts together and let me really effectively communicate what I'm really trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
Because I will tell you from experience, when you're pissed off, when you at that highest level, in my sister's voice, of festivity, right? He's not hearing you, she's not hearing you, it's not working out well, period. It's not
Mm-hmm.
working out well, and now we just got this big shouting match, and we've got nothing accomplished. Nothing has been
Yeah.
accomplished, and it's nothing going to do, but it's not going to do anything but fester, and it's going to come up again later. And so when
Mm-hmm.
you arguing about something else, you still pissed off from the last time, because you didn't bury that, you didn't get that all squared away to carry over to that. And I'm not talking about y'all. I mean, don't be as petty as he didn't sweep the floor today. That stuff, whatever. You know, I'm talking about like deep stuff. No, I mean he ain't sweep the floor. Yeah, say Earl, why you ain't sweep the floor? I thought you was gonna sweep the floor. Yeah, kind of do that and kind of move on. But we got to have those conversations, ladies. We need to be held accountable too. We don't always do everything right. Don't always place it on a man. It's some things, even me, it's some things that I haven't always done right. I haven't always dotted every I. I didn't always cross every T, because guess what? I'm not perfect. We shouldn't look for them to be perfect. And we are not always right. We
Mm-hmm.
are not always right. We are
Mm-hmm.
wrong sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what
And
I'm saying?
own up to it.
Right. Own up to your wrong and say, you know what? Maybe I could have handled that differently. Maybe I
Mm-hmm.
should have said that to you differently. Because I tell my best friend all the time, he doesn't want to hurt this specific lady who he's been in and out relationship with for years. He's like, I really want to tell her how I feel. There's a way that you can communicate how you feel without being disrespectful.
Mm-hmm.
There's a way that you can do that. There's not a wrong way. Now, who likes the truth?
Nobody.
Nobody.
No.
Nobody likes it.
No.
Nobody
No.
likes that. I don't want you to come to me, Denise, but I would respect you if you came to me and said, Denise, I understand what you did, but that wasn't cool.
Right.
Because you need people in your life. Get people around you that's going to hold you accountable for your actions. I have people around me. I think I have good family and my good core friends. They can call me out. Will I like it?
No.
Absolutely not. I'm telling you right now, I'm
Right.
not going to like it. But
Right.
guess what? Later on, I'll appreciate them for pulling my coattail. Now, they're not going
Mm-hmm.
to pull my coattail in public. They're not
Mm-hmm.
gonna be like blah blah blah, out in front of everybody. But if we get in the
Mm-hmm.
car or they call me the phone, sis, I gotta pull your coattail. That one cool, right?
Right.
We got to learn how to hold each other accountable. Hold each
Mm-hmm.
other accountable. We ain't all like I said. We not always right. We don't always get it right. And your idea ain't the best idea. Maybe it's a great idea, but if you in a relationship, put y'all ideas together, come together, and let's make a power plan. You know what I'm saying? That's like I said. That's where friendships, relationships, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But y'all, let's get away from the whole happy wife, happy life thing, because I don't even really think that exists in real life. Let's
Right.
go with happy spouse, happy house.
But
Because
I'm gonna
if
say
both
that,
spouses are happy,
yep, then the house is
we
happy.
lit.
And I'm gonna say this to top it off. Stop comparing your relationship to somebody else's relationship.
True.
Your relationship is your relationship, and their relationship is their relationship. You don't know what's going on behind closed doors.
Mhm.
Everybody is an individual, but we spend a lot of our time Looking at the window because it's dressed nice don't mean that the back of the house is clean. Understand me when I say. So
So true,
stop
you right.
comparing your relationship and stop telling everybody all of your business, especially some of your family
Facts.
members, especially when you know they're very judgmental and you all have a nasty argument and you like, I'm through with him. You go tell your family members, y'all end up getting back together. Now they tell me, well, why you back with him or why you back with her? If you keep them out your business, you don't have to worry about them being in your business. Certain things you need to keep to
Mhm.
yourself. To yourself.
If
That's
you
what it.
need to vent, get yourself a journal and write it down. That's what I do. If I need to vent, get myself a pen and a
Or
piece of
tell
paper.
it to
To the
Jesus.
Lord, right? Tell it to
Tell
the
it to
Lord.
Jesus. He ain't gonna tell nobody. You cannot tell everybody, especially some women, because they have ulterior motives.
That's
They
true.
do. Now I'm always gonna be transparent on this outlet. Some women have ulterior motives when you start sharing your business, and they will not give you the best advice. Because if you have a true, genuine friend, they're going to tell you the truth, whether you like it or not. So understand, be very selective in who you talk to when it comes down to your relationship. And find you a couple that has wisdom, that's been married a long time and know the ins and outs of marriage and is going to keep it 100. That's all I'm saying. But I'm saying, don't compare your relationship to nobody else's relationship because you
No,
don't know what goes on in that house.
you don't.
You don't. Not at all. And we
And
spend
what
all
works
our.
for them ain't gonna work for you.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? They may like blue together and you don't like blue.
Exactly.
And that's
Exactly.
okay. Do
And
what works for you in terms
yeah,
of your relationship.
a lot of relationships have been destroyed because we listen to people that we should not have been listening to. And
Facts.
you done lost you a good spouse, listen to somebody else. And the person you listen to ain't got nobody in their life, period. Can't hold a man if you paid him. I'm
I
just
hear a
saying.
man if you paid him though.
They've been married 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. And they still think it's the other person, except for looking at the person in the mirror. Because we
You
all play a part in the relationship, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent.
we
We
do.
all play a part. Just find out the part that you play, correct your stuff, and keep it moving. All right. Well, I hope you all got something out of this conversation. Cause
Hopefully
I
we can get
thought,
a man.
yeah, we're gonna
Hopefully
try to
we
get
can get a man.
a male perspective on happy wife, happy life. Because we don't want to make it one sided. We
Right,
want to
right.
create the balance of and provide a male perspective and see what the male has to say about happy wife, happy life. And then you
Mhm.
might find out some things. You might learn some things yourself. You never know. You know, and it's nice to talk to men sometime about some things. They can tell you something about women that we really need to pay attention to because we spend all our time trying to get their attention and they watching all the time. But y'all
Yep.
doing all the wrong things in front of them and it makes them disinterested in what you're doing.
What you
So
doing?
it is what it is. So me and Denise thought this would be an interesting topic,
Yes.
and I thought it was a very interesting topic. So I want you ladies, even on replay, to contemplate on happy wife, happy life. Do you really understand what that means, or you just been throwing that phrase around for years without any knowledge?
Does
And so
it have a
now,
meaning though?
right, it doesn't really have a meaning. So we've introduced something. Denise introduced something else. Happy spouse, happy house. So if you each of the both sides are happy, then quite naturally, some of the arguments may diffuse, some petty stuff may go away. You may find some cohesiveness between the two, and it may be a better journey. You all can get on one accord if you look at happy spouse, happy house. So let's change our way of thinking. It's not bad.
Yes.
We can rethink some things and do things differently to get better results. And that's the purpose and that's the goal. So I thank you, Denise.
Period.
It
Oh,
was
Einstein, we should do another one too. I saw one yesterday. We should do another one too. Let us know in the comments what y'all think. Yesterday, it was another on Snap by the same person.
uh-huh.
But I was in disagreement with him. He said, why do women why do we always have our guards up when going into the next relationship?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Let's
So
do that one. Cause
that's a good one.
we had a full time because I had
Yeah.
a lot to say.
Yeah.
Woo!
We'll need to get other ladies from
Yeah,
different areas of life to join in on that conversation because guards are for
they
protection of the
are.
heart. And so when you talk about a guard, you're talking about protection of the heart. People just don't put them up for no reason. Something has transpired in their life that caused them to put their guards up. But yeah, we're going to work on that because I'm interested. After we find a couple of men to kind of
Right to
chime
talk
in on
about.
happy wife, happy life. So again, I thank you all for tuning in. Make sure y'all share this stream with somebody and still comment, leave it on the Facebook page, send me an email, Twitter, Pinterest, TikTok. If you're a woman in business, there's a social media outlet just for women. It's toawomanheart.org. Go over there, sign up, brand your business, network, share your life moments. We're working on building it. Facebook is about to change to Meta. They got a lot of underlying issues. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Let's spread them out to create the awareness of so spread it out. You won't stay stuck in one space. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And go to the website, purchase a t-shirt. T-shirt to speak to the heart of the woman. And yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation tonight. And if you're not married, maybe to help you. If you're engaged, if you're going into marriage, and even for those who are single and want to be married, no conversation does not leave us empty handed. Everything that we talk about provides us something to think about, to contemplate on. So let this message marinate in your life and give us some feedback. And we're going to do a part 2 to this as soon as we find a couple of guys that's willing to come on and talk about happy wife, happy life. Because I'm very interested in the other side, what their perspective is as relate to where marriage isn't what it used to be. Letice, you're right, it's not. And I think we lost the value and the understanding of marriage, and we created our own understanding, perception of marriage to watching TV. A lot of us look at TV marriages and think it's marriage, and that's not marriage. It's so much more to that. But anyway, maybe we can do a conversation about what is marriage.
That's a good one.
What is marriage? Because people don't really understand what is marriage. They really don't. So, yeah. So anyway, I thank y'all for tuning in. And clearly it's time for us to cut it off because we can hear other conversations. All right. So I thank you all for chiming in on this stream. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share To a Woman's Heart. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, YouTube, and our social media outlet. All right, Denise. Love you, Letice. We're going to talk again, ladies. Until next time, look out for the next stream with the man coming up with his perspective. All right, talk to y'all later. Have a good one. Oh, God.